What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the John and Chris Show. Thank you so much for taking time to check out the show and just checking our opinions, our fun hobby of going through all sports and just any topic we like. Appreciate you guys taking time to watch it, listen. We ask that you guys just like and subscribe and give us a follow so we can get the word further out there. And thank you so much for being a part of it. So sadly today I am flying solo because Chris could not make it. That's right. He is too embarrassed to show his face after his Raiders played so poorly the other night and are now out of playoff contention. No, I'm kidding. He's not here today because he's out with his family. You know, hey, we're approaching the holidays and that's what's happening. But hey, we're going to talk some football and a lot of other things today. So let's get started. Nice Saturday, just hanging out, having an easy time. But look, I'm gonna tell you, it's an easy weekend. It's supposed to be right before Christmas, and we're all excited about the holidays and stuff. I'm not as excited as everybody else. I'm sitting here sweating, man. My fantasy teams are killing me right now, and I'm struggling right now. So Chris and I have had a competition going all year long. We've had a competition seeing who can get the most right picks headed into the playoffs. We're trying to see who can get the most right picks each weekend. We've kind of had a running total. I've had a demonstrative lead for numerous weeks. I don't know if he was just mailing it in or what, but I will tell you that he's got me sweating. He's got me nervous at this point. The score right now, I'm winning by one game. I'm not okay with this. I don't know where all of a sudden his guru tactics have come in and he's just started getting every long shot to actually pay off. If we were into gambling, I'd tell him to head to Cherokee, North Carolina right now, see if he can place a bet because we're too broke to go all the way to Vegas. So, but he's made a serious comeback on me, man. Over the last about four weeks, he's made up a bunch of games. Now it's coming down to the wire. We differ on two games this weekend. I believe it's the 49ers game. I know we both differ on, and then for some reason the 49ers game. I went stupid for some reason. I picked the Cowboys to actually win that game. And you ever just like in the middle of making a pick, you're asking yourself why you're even doing this. That was me in that moment as I'm circling. Yeah, this is who's going to win. This is what's going to happen. And I stuck with my gut on that one. So I'm hoping that Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket down there, can help me out. That Dallas can figure out how to play some sort of defense that, I don't know, maybe there would be an actual sighting with Ezekiel Elliott, even though he's absolutely killed me this year in fantasy. One of the worst picks I've ever made, taking him. I don't even know what pick I have, but I took him as my first overall pick, and he has been awful this year with fumbles and all kinds of problems. And I thought, man, when Dak went down, man, they're just going to feed the ball to Zeke, and it has just not happened whatsoever. So I've just – that's why I'm part of the reason why I'm stumbling into the playoffs right now. So I'm hoping that the Cowboys can beat the 49ers. And I was trying to find the other game that we differed on. Here it is. I went against everything inside of me, fan and everything. I was trying to go for the win, not for homer mentality on this one. And I actually took the Dolphins, the at-home Dolphins, to beat my Patriots. Now, I'll have to admit that I'm hoping that it kind of happens on one level because I don't want us to keep winning and then still miss the playoffs because we have Cam, because there's just no way we're going to make it in there with Cam. And I just want us to get a better draft pick if that's possible, because right now we're already picking in the high teens. So but it almost makes no point at this point. So you might as well, I guess, try to ruin Miami's chances of getting in or something, because Belichick is vindictive like that, and I love him for it. But we'll see how those two games turn out. Those are the only two we differ on. He took the Patriots. Apparently he's betting on the hoodie, and for some reason the fan of the Patriots could not do that. But then I start looking at this week in the John and Chris Show Fantasy Football League. Of course, I started out strong in this league, man. I mean, I started out strong. I was in first place, doing really good, and then it fell apart on me. Like, I don't know what happened. Mid-season, everything completely fell apart, and I ended up limping in and basically coming in second place to my son, James, who honestly, what hurts my heart about the idea of coming in second to him is the fact that he didn't even check his roster. He did not check his roster pretty much almost all season. And then when he found out he was in the playoffs, all of a sudden he starts turning it on, and then he starts checking things, and now he's actually doing pretty good. So ironically enough, the first week of the playoffs, I have a matchup with Chris. And excuse me, I guess this is the first round, second week of the first round. Right now, I got about a 50-point lead on Chris. I'm hoping I can hold on to that. I've seen some crazier things. I got another league I'm in that I had a really substantial lead coming into it against a buddy of mine, and I thought, I'm gonna beat Freddie. This is gonna be really good. And then freaking Darren Waller has a 30-point night the other night. I'm like, who gets 30 points from their tight end? That is ridiculous. I don't even know how that happens. So I'm like, I'm nervous in both leagues right now. I'm like, I'm not even playing around. I am nervous in both leagues, and I'm not going to make it out of the first round. And that's mainly because I've been talking so much junk all year about how I was going to dominate. And I was, man. I started out the first half of the season, I was almost untouchable. I didn't lose in the John and Chris Show League until, like, I don't know, week 8 or something like that. But then I didn't win again. I seriously lost like 6 games in a row. I couldn't keep guys healthy. And then, I'd start one guy, and then, the guy I took out would all of a sudden have a monster game. And I'm like, what are the odds, man? This is killing me. This is why fantasy is so much fun, but so maddening at the same time, because you think you're doing great. You think, oh man, I've got a great team. I've got a great situation. I can handle all of this. And then all of a sudden injuries, or, you take somebody like Zeke and it just doesn't pan out. And it just happens every year. A couple of years ago, my son took Le'Veon Bell. I guess maybe it's 3 years ago now. He took Le'Veon Bell with the first pick. And of course, that was the year that Le'Veon decided that he was going to just sit out, and it destroyed my son. He had no shot at that point. He thought for sure that he had something good going on. But I'm just curious, is anybody else struggling with their fantasy rosters right now? Is anybody else nervous? I'll be honest, in my other league, I'm kind of excited. I'm hopeful in this league that this game I'm playing against Chris. I'm starting Josh Allen at quarterback. Man, he's getting some MVP conversation type stuff. So I'm hoping that'll pay off. I'm starting Mike Davis, because Christian McCaffrey hasn't been there the whole year. So I'm hoping Mike can get one more game, even though I know they're playing against the Packers. But I'm desperate for points at this point. I got 20 points out of Josh Jacobs. Praise God, he helped me out. I'm starting Hopkins, Tyler Lockett, Mark Andrews, and then my flex spot, man. I'm really struggling because I have Zeke sitting there on my bench, but he's been awful. I got Cooper sitting there on my bench. I'm wondering about playing Amari Cooper. Ronald Jones is out. Antonio Gibson is out pretty much. I don't want to start 2 tight ends because I got Hunter Henry sitting there on my bench too. I'm debating putting I probably should have put him in because he had 17 points. I should have put him over Mark Andrews, but there I go again, playing my gut. And then Michael Thomas is out again. I don't know if he got in a fight or if he just made somebody mad. I don't know what his problem is. I saw a tweet the other day or earlier today that somebody was saying that the Saints are holding out Michael Thomas because of injury, but yet they're going to start Drew Brees. So I'm not really sure if I see the logic in that. But I guess at this point, the Saints are trying to play for that first overall seed, which we'll get to later on. And so I just got a question. You guys think I should start J.K. Dobbins right now, who playing Jacksonville? He's projected to get about 14 points, or should I start Zeke playing San Francisco? Because right now I'm starting Dobbins because it's obvious that the Jaguars are not trying to win, and I'm hoping that, the Ravens at some point are going to try not to get Lamar hurt, so they're just going to hand off the rock and give it to Dobbins a lot, maybe just, work him. That's my hope. That's my literal hope, is that I can get just enough points to get past Chris and get to this next round and continue limping on. It's a bad time when you're the most confident you are is probably in your kicker, because I got Rodrigo Blankenship for the Colts, who's had a monster year, kicking the ball. So that's probably not a good thing to say when that's probably the position you're most comfortable with right now. But hey, I made the playoffs. We'll see what happens. That was the running joke the other day that my oldest son did not make the playoffs in this league, in the John and Chris Show League, and he's playing against somebody, and he was talking about how he wanted to set up his roster and fix this, and he really wanted to make this win. And I told him, I was like, Bud, you didn't make the playoffs. It doesn't matter. He goes, I know, but I'm trying to win the NIT of our fantasy league. And I'll be honest with you. He had me rolling when he said that mess because I'll be honest, he's just got unbelievable comedic timing. Sometimes he doesn't even realize how funny he actually is. Like the things he says, the things he does, he cracks me up. But hey, so look, since we're talking about fantasy football, let's go ahead and stay in this realm and let's go ahead and talk about the rest of the week here, the rest of the weekend, all these games that we have going on. Like I said, Chris and I are making picks and things that we think are going to happen. We stayed pretty much the same in most of this. Like I said, we both picked the Raiders to win. And how about Justin Herbert having an unbelievable game and Derek Carr having a significant groin injury and going out? There was a Marcus Mariota sighting. Two ducks going at it, and Herbert comes out with the win. But Mariota might have played himself into a job somewhere next year. I don't know. I can't remember if he signed a multi-year contract with the Raiders or if it was a one-year deal. But there are probably going to be some teams that might come calling that are just struggling right now. But hey, proves that you need to have a good backup quarterback there just in case you have problems, just in case that there's an issue. You need to have somebody there to back you up to make sure you've got a decent roster going on right there. So shout out to them for that. So then we have the 4-9 Panthers going to the 10-3 Green Bay Packers. So obviously the Panthers are at the bottom of the NFC. And at this point, there's nothing really to play for. You're just playing your young guys. You're trying to get like Brian Burns, who's trying to get into the Pro Bowl. You're giving some guys like Mike Davis and Bridgewater. You're just giving them some run. But, you're not trying to win at this point, unless it's a Matt Rule thing where you're just trying to create a good atmosphere heading into next year, where you're sitting right now at 4-9 and you're thinking, hey, let's finish at 7-9. Let's not completely rule out winning a few games and just have a good, mojo going into next. I can't believe I just used the word mojo, but just having a good feel about things going into next season. But everything, I guess I played too much Madden, because in my mind, I'm like, you're already at 4-9. Do as bad as you can almost. Play your young guys. Do whatever. Don't get your old guys hurt. Don't play McCaffrey anymore. Take your guys out, give them some rest, and just get as high of a draft pick as you can, and hopefully you can rebuild your team that way. I guess I've been watching too much of the 76ers basketball, where I'm all about trust the process these days. I've been shouting that all year for the Patriots, that if we're not going to make the playoffs and we're not going to make a serious contention, lose so we can have a chance at a really good quarterback like a Justin Fields or, a Trey Lance or something. But no, we decide we're going to wing it with Cam Newton and see if we can prove the world wrong. The Belichick can coach, and I think Belichick can. It's just I don't think Cam can, but whatever. And then we got the 8-5 Bucks going to the 4-9 Atlanta Falcons. Once again, same principle. The Panthers and the Falcons are having a race to see who can finish at the bottom of the NFC. So the Bucks need this. All right, the Bucks need this right now. They need to win this game. So they obviously cannot win their division. The Saints have already locked that up, but they're sitting at 8-5 right now. It means that they're in the 6th seed. They are in the 6th seed right now. So that is not the spot that they want to be in, because it's the top 7 teams are going to make it, but they've got to play in. So that's not where Tom Brady and the guys want to be, because it's proven history with Tom Brady that he does a lot better if you can get a first round bye rather than being on the road in the first round or just having to play all the way through. Because at 8-5 they might get a home game, but I don't think they will at this point, because it looks like we've got the Rams ahead of them. The Washington footballers at 6-7, since they're going to be a division winner, probably they're going to be ahead of them. And then the number 5 seed is the Seattle Seahawks at 9-4. So I don't know. Obviously the Bucks just want to win and again get a good feeling heading into the playoffs, because they need everything they can get. In my personal opinion, I think Arians is coaching for his job. I really believe that. I believe that if he does not do well, and by well I mean probably conference championship, the way that Tom has played this year, the way the team has just been so up and down, and the fact that Arians needs 20 assistants because he's trying to cut back on the amount of work he has to do, I would not be shocked to see the Bucks move on from him and try to find a younger guy who's probably more capable of doing what they're looking for. And then we see that I called for the Cowboys to beat the 49ers. I don't know what I was thinking on that one. And then we have the 5-8 5-8 Lions going to the 9-4 Titans. I don't even think this is a competition. The Titans are going to run over this. The Titans are in the 4 seed. I think they'd like to put a little pressure on the Bills and try to see if they can get that 3 seed. At this point, there's no way, unless the Steelers continue to just plummet as they have been the last few weeks, unless something miraculous happens in Cincinnati this weekend, there's no way that the Titans are going to, or the Bills are probably going to be able to jump all the way up to the 2nd seed, or maybe the Bills could if the Steelers continue to lose, but there's probably no chance that the Titans being 2 games back that they're going to be able to jump that high up. But they're definitely playing to get as good of a position as they can, because they're probably going to want to be able to get that 3 seed, so they might eventually end up playing against the Steelers rather than the Chiefs, because everybody's probably at this point trying to avoid the Chiefs for as long as they can. So we've got the 4-9 Texans against the 9-4 Colts. We've got this log jam right now in the AFC where the Titans, the Browns, and the Colts are all at 9-4. The Colts are in 2nd place in their division, tied. I mean, they have a tied record, but they obviously lost the head-to-head. So they're in 2nd place in the AFC South. So they're competing to see if they can win their division to get a home game. That's where they're at. So the Colts are definitely going to push the Texans on this one. The Texans, you would normally say you just want to lose because you want the highest draft pick, but hey, they don't have that draft pick. The Dolphins have that draft pick. So again, the Dolphins are hoping they lose. We got the 6-7 Patriots at the 8-5 Dolphins. I think the Dolphins are going to take it. The Dolphins are sitting at the 7 seed. They're trying to make sure that they can stay in the playoffs. That's their goal right now. They're going to do whatever they can to make sure that they stay in the playoffs. And the Patriots, like I said, they're going to do everything they can to play spoiler and knock them out. But I don't know. I think the Dolphins at this point definitely have the more talented roster. Brian Flores is a pretty good coach, man. Regardless of what Chris says about firing him, Brian Flores is a pretty good coach. So I think that'll probably work out pretty well for them. The 6-7 Chicago Bears, 6-7 Chicago Bears against the 6-7 Minnesota Vikings. So they are both on what you would consider the bubble right now. They're both sitting there, same record. The Vikings, I guess, hold the head-to-head because they are in 2nd place and the Bears are in 3rd place. They are both in the bubble, about 1 game out. The Cardinals are ahead of them at 7-6. They're both 1 game out of the playoffs. They're both fighting for a chance to get in there. I personally think that the Vikings will win the game. I think Trubinsky's a decent quarterback, but I don't think he's enough to necessarily get him over that hurdle, and I would love for him to prove me wrong, but that's just where I stand on that one. I think the Vikings are going to push the Cardinals and make the Cardinals pretty uncomfortable, but we'll see about that. Then we get to the 9-4 Seattle Seahawks against the 6-7 1st place in their division Washington football team. I just think as good as that Washington defense has played with no Alex Smith this weekend and they're starting Dwayne Haskins, I think Russ and the guys are just going to run through that game. And then, of course, we get to the 1-12. Do I even need to bother to say the record at this point? It's the Jaguars. They're playing at the Ravens. There's no question the Ravens are going to win that. But sitting where they are right now, let's see, where are the Ravens? The Ravens are at 8-5. That means they are the 8th seed. They are hoping to win and hoping the Patriots can never have a Ravens team ever pull for the Patriots, but they're probably pulling for them this weekend because if they can leapfrog the Dolphins, and they might be able to get into the playoffs. And I know that's their entire goal right now. They've gone all in on their roster with trades and signings and everything they could. They've done everything they could to make that defense just unbelievable. But it's just their offense can't seem to keep up at this point. I mean, they've done unbelievable signings, Ngakoue and re-signing all their cornerbacks and keeping Matthew Judon for another year, getting Calais Campbell in there. I mean, their defense is somewhat scary. But their offense, I guess, at points can be predictable, even though we saw that as soon as Lamar Jackson lightened his load, as soon as he lightened his load the other day, he just ran all over the Browns. So Kevin Stefanski and them better figure out how to fix that coming up. Then we have the Jets, who, of course, are going to lose on purpose to the Rams, and the Rams sitting at 8-5. They are in the 3rd seed. Excuse me. They are not 8-5. They are 9-4, and they are sitting in 3rd seed. And they're going to do everything they can to maintain that. And they're hoping that the Saints lose this weekend to the Chiefs so that they can leapfrog them hopefully and get into the second seed. We'll see how that goes. The Cardinals at home against the Eagles. I picked the Cardinals to win that game, but everything about my fantasy team needs Jalen Hurts to have an unbelievable game. Do you know how bad I'm doing in fantasy when I am starting Jalen Hurts? Because before him, I was starting Taysom Hill. That's how bad my quarterback game has been this year. I have Matt Ryan and Matthew Stafford. And, in years past, I may not like those guys and think they're ultra talented, but they've usually been enough to carry you, as long as you got good skill positions. And this year they have just absolutely failed me. And then, of course, we've got the 12-1 Chiefs trying to maintain first place. I think they're going to beat the Saints, even with Drew Brees back. I think that they're going to beat them, which is going to throw the NFC into some fun chaos to see what happens there. And then we've got the Browns on the road against the Giants. As good as Joe Judge has done, I think the Browns are going to win that game, which they needed. And not like I said, they're in that log jam at 9-4. They're sitting in the 5th seed right now, and they're trying to see how high they can move up. Which obviously, they can't go up too far unless the Steelers completely fall, because the Steelers are going to win that division, and then the Steelers are playing at Cincinnati. Like I said, unless Roethlisberger goes down, there's no way in the world that the Steelers should lose that game with no Burrow playing for the Bengals. So that's kind of where we are heading into this weekend. I'm ready. I'm excited for the playoffs. I'm not excited about my fantasy team right now, but I am super, super excited about the playoffs right now. In fact, I'm watching the next level of the NFL players right now as the rule changed for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and they're now in the Big Ten championship right now playing Northwestern, which any normal day, that's not even a game. It's blowing my mind right now when you look at these records. The 6-1 Northwestern Wildcats are playing against the 5-0 Ohio State Buckeyes in the championship game. That almost doesn't make sense. It has to be 2020 for something like that to make sense. But in saying that, I know it's conference championship weekend, and everybody's excited about it. The Ducks pulled off the upset last night of the undefeated Trojans. I kind of feel bad for Clay Helton and those guys. I mean, the cardiac kids, as they've been called all season, to be in that position and then lose. But, the better team won for that game. They tried to come back and win it last night, but it's a funny conversation that the Ducks were even in that game. The reason they were even in the game is because the Huskies couldn't play because of COVID problems. So I hate it for them, because the Huskies probably would have had a good game against them. But all I really care about, I know it sounds bad, and I'm such a homer, I need Clemson. I need Clemson to win. I never say that. I'm not a Clemson fan at all. And right now, I need Clemson to win. Clemson wins, so that puts Clemson for sure into the college football playoffs. And the Irish will probably stay in, being that they haven't lost really a game yet, and they already beat Clemson head-to-head once. So that would put both of them in. And this is, again, where I am completely selfish and all about what I want. That would put my Tar Heels into the Orange Bowl. That is what I want to see. I want to see Javonte Williams and Michael Carter one more time. And I want to see them play on a big stage in the Orange Bowl. I think it'd be really great, especially for recruiting. Mac Brown's done an unbelievable job. He came into a school that was absolutely pathetic. Larry Fedora had some good offense, could not coach a defense, and was struggling to recruit. We were getting beaten every which way by Dave Dorn and NC State, and that was just unacceptable. So praise God, we made a change and brought Mac back. And now that he's there, he's made some huge strides as far as recruiting, keeping some top talent in state. They kept Keyshawn Silver, 5-star defensive end in state. After we just had a 5-star defensive end in state last year. Evans, I believe Desmond Evans, they were able to keep him. And we're starting to keep some key guys, which is huge, because just literally one state down is Clemson. and they're constantly trying to steal top talent from our state, which is understandable. They're a top team in the country. So I'm really glad to see that Mac is, as he put it, is starting to build a wall around the state. And I believe that playing in the Orange Bowl and possibly winning the Orange Bowl, depending on who we play, it probably is going to be, a Texas A&M. Might be a tough game with Jimbo Fisher. He's pretty creative on offense, and we have struggled this year to keep running mobile quarterbacks in line, and Kellen Mond is he can do that. Obviously, they like to spread it out, and they like to do a lot of things, air it out as much as they can. But if our linebackers can't keep Kellen Mond in the box and let our cornerbacks do what they can, hopefully Storm Duck is back and healthy. And it's going to be a really tough game. But to be on that stage is great for recruiting and just great overall for the school to see the strides that have been made going forward into all of this. So I'm gonna switch gears here. Okay, I'm gonna jump over. I'm missing Chris right now, man. I'm missing the conversation and the debate back and forth, but it's all right. He'll be back next time, hopefully. We'll talk a little NBA. And not that anything dramatic's happening. We're just in the preseason. NBA's tipping off on the 22nd. What does that fall on? 22nd is Tuesday. So the NBA season actually kicks off on Tuesday. Maybe I'm just weird, but I'm not overly concerned about opening night. Like I enjoy the game a lot. We're going to play I'm playing in a fantasy league, and we'll see how that goes. We're drafting Monday night. So I don't know what you guys think about who you should take in the first pick. I don't know who has the first pick yet, but I'm torn. If I got the first pick, would I take Giannis or would I take Luka at this point? And for some reason, part of me is thinking Luka. I know that Luka gets hurt, but I don't know. I don't know why. I can't even I can't give you a statistical reason why I would want to take Luka over Giannis at this point. But for some reason in my head, I want to take Luka. But who knows? We'll see if that even happens. I'll probably end up with the 6th or 7th pick at best. But I saw a couple stories that all of you are familiar with at this point. If you've paid any attention to sports as of late, how about the further drama that's happening in Houston with James Harden and the Rockets and all the nonsense that's going on down there? So obviously we know that last year they traded for Westbrook. They traded a great player in Chris Paul to get Westbrook, and they gave up a bunch of stuff to get him. And they thought, hey, we'll get these two best friends together. I guess they were hoping it's a stepbrother situation and they would have so much more room for activities. But it didn't quite work out that well. And Westbrook wanted out. And why did Westbrook want out? I mean, that's his best buddy. What's going on? Well, then we see the report that came out last week that Harden ran that team. Daryl Morey didn't run that team. Mike D'Antoni didn't run that team. And Harden ran that team. And I guess that's not overly shocking in today's culture of the NBA. I mean, you can even go back and watch The Last Dance, and you can see where Michael Jordan was pulling some strings. I know that there was a power struggle between he and the general manager, but Michael was pulling a lot of strings. Well, we see James has taken it well beyond that. And speaking of The Last Dance, they've started comparing James Harden and his interactions and what he's done all year to that of Dennis Rodman. And the reason they brought that up is because, James was basically taking upon himself to take some days off, and the team was giving him days off. So if they had some time off, he was just constantly taking private jets and going to Vegas and partying and having a great time. And basically, as one staffer put it, it's whatever James wants. That's what it comes down to. They didn't care if he was going and partying for 3 or 4 days straight in Vegas, because they knew that, hey, when he comes back, he's going to put up a triple-double. You know what? He did. He did put up triple-doubles. He put up amazing stats, but he didn't get wins in the playoffs. I wonder why that is. He's routinely late for practices, routinely late for film sessions. I mean, they had one story where they were talking about Russell Westbrook was mad as fire that James wasn't there on time in the bubble, which you don't really have anywhere to go. They're in the bubble, and he's not on time for a film session, saying, go ahead and start without him. We'll but Mike D'Antoni says no, because we'll have to start over once he arrives. And I think that was definitely the beginning of the end between he and Westbrook. And, I understand at this point that Harden is a top player. Maybe he's top end as far as weight at his position because he's been partying way too much and not keeping himself in shape. Everybody's been body shaming him for a week or so now. But I know that at the same time, he is a top player at his position. But is every top player worth the headache that they can be? I am of the belief that the team should get rid of him. I am of the belief that they should trade him away, figure out something, just get his money off the books, get his headache out the locker room, and develop a team. This is not what you want Silas coming into, the brand new head coach. This is not the headache that he probably wants to come into and having to deal with all this as far as James running things. And I understand it's a players' league. The coach is doing his best just to maintain all this, but there's no way that I would want to keep him. I would take I'd put out a call to everybody, and now everybody at this point knows that you probably want to get rid of him. So the compensation you're going to get back is never going to be what you want it to be. I'd figure out what the best compensation is, and I would just move on. Now, I know that James has said flat out that he wants to play in Brooklyn. He wants to be up there with his buddy KD. If I'm KD, I find Steve Nash, I find Sean Marks, I find the rest of the power team there in Brooklyn, and I say ignore all calls from Houston. Ignore all the calls. I understand that James is extremely talented, but he has enough of a headache with Kyrie right now. If you noticed the other day in the video that they were showing on ESPN and everywhere, the league has now said that they will not be testing for marijuana or weed, whatever you want it. They're not going to test for it this year. So what do we see Kyrie doing? Waving a bunch of it around on the side of the court. I'm kidding. It's not marijuana. I'm just joking. That's an awful joke. He's waving sage around, which I'm not into all that. I'm not an Indian. I don't do any of that type of stuff. I don't believe in it. I know that we might get hate because I said that, but I don't believe that that's true. I was watching a bunch of Twitter comments underneath that, and I saw one guy who was telling everybody stop waving that sage around and go find Jesus. Wholeheartedly agree. And then he was just obliterated on Twitter where people were just going after him like crazy about it all. But it's silliness to me. So KD's already got enough of a headache when it comes to all the nonsense that Kyrie is doing, calling everybody peons, and he doesn't talk to pawns, and now he's out here burning weeds on the sideline to get rid of the bad juju or whatever that nonsense is. I don't know. Kyrie's already enough of a headache for KD. I would not be calling. I would not be responding to any texts, any calls, anything from Houston to add James Harden to have even more headache on what is supposed to be KD's comeback season. And he's already starting out pretty strong in the preseason because they're going to have to give up way too much to get him. Again, in NBA, you have to have matching salaries and trades. Well, that means you've got to move a lot of stuff because James Harden gets way too much money. He's getting like $40 million or more a year, and so that means you're going to have to send that back in compensation. And then it's got to be something Houston agrees with. So what have they said? They want a key player, some young players, and draft picks. Well, New Jersey doesn't, or excuse me, not New Jersey. I did that just for Chris. Brooklyn, they don't want to give up any of that. I mean, they're trying to build something for the future. You know, you've got some key pieces already. You got KD, you got Kyrie, you got Karis LeVert, you got Joe Harris, Jared Allen. You've got a decent core. You could fight for the East. Why bring in Harden? Why bring in even more headache, getting rid of young talent, losing picks for all these years? Why do it? You know, another destination that Harden has been rumored was Miami. Miami, they built their whole persona on playing hard and practicing hard and doing everything. I mean, Jimmy Butler comes in with his blue collar mentality and changes the whole roster, and they fight hard. Well, why would Miami want a guy who's been proven to show that he's lazy? He can't keep himself in shape. He's not going to push the rest of the team. He's taking time off. My God, you're going to put him in the party city that is Miami, and you're going to expect him to keep this team on track, and they're going to do good. I guess if you're making that trade, it's because, you know, the owner, was this Mickey Aarons and then Pat Riley, they just don't feel like that they have enough on their roster to completely win the East again and to go defeat the Lakers. That's the only reason I could see them making that trade. Okay, maybe you send Miles Leonard and his ridiculously heavy contract. Maybe you send either Tyler Hero or Duncan Robinson, even though I wouldn't want to do that myself because they were a huge reason as to why you got as far as you did last year, because they could spread the floor and shoot. Maybe you do that and you bring in Harden, and maybe you compete really well for the East. You probably still don't have enough to beat the Lakers. Is it worth it then to give up all those young players, all those draft picks to bring in James Harden? No. The only team I could even possibly see that could do it and it possibly be a benefit is Philly. Philly, because the trade would have to center around sending Ben Simmons back. And I know Doc has said, he's been on record, that he wants to keep both of these guys together for a season and see how it goes. But that's the only way. That's the only scenario that works for me in my head, is that you send because obviously they're not going to take Tobias Harris, even though that would be the better trade for the 76ers. Send Tobias Harris, his ridiculously high contract, and maybe a few young guys, and you send them down there with like 14,000 picks. I don't know. And you send all that to Houston and hope that's enough to bring in Harden. But then how well does that work? Simmons can't play off the ball. He can't shoot. He has to be bringing the ball up. Embiid's not getting out of the lane. That's just where he lives. He can spread it some, but he needs to be in the paint. I mean, you're not supposed to be that big and be shooting threes all the time. Only Dirk Nowitzki's ever really pulled that off. So I think that's the only way it works out. But it would center around sending Ben Simmons back to Houston. If I'm Houston, I jump at it. I really do. I take it as soon as they give it to me. Even if it's just straight up trade, I take it. Get rid of James, bring in a possibility of a young star, and Ben Simmons, if he can stay healthy and learn how to shoot. You can put him beside John Wall. Who knows? Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't work. But at least you wouldn't have Harden in the locker room. So I've harped on that enough. I know that's maybe I'm too much of an anti-Harden guy. Maybe I should give him a little more respect because he is such a talented player. But I have a hard time with it. I have a hard time with the idea of paying guys that much money and giving them that much control and then receiving what is in my mind such a little return on investment. Sure, you sold tickets, and if at the end of the day it's all about making money, the NBA is all about making money, and I understand that. That's why Adam Silver has made so many changes. But at the end of the day, I want some rings too. If I'm an NBA owner, I want rings. That's the entire reason Milwaukee Bucks forked out all they did to sign Giannis to the Supermax, 5 years, $228 million. You break that down, it's like $45.6 million a year. I mean, that's a huge amount that's probably 45% of their overall salary cap that they've invested to one player, not to mention that they've maxed out. Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez is getting a ton of money. They just brought Jrue Holiday in there. I mean, they are going all in for the win because owners want rings. And that's what it all comes down to. In a year where you may not even be able to have people in the stands, you might as well get a ring to show for it. So we'll see how that goes. Let us know what you think about anything we discussed today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I definitely did enjoy just having this, getting it off my chest, I guess you could say. Hopefully Chris will be back. I'm hoping we can get a quick episode in between now and the season tip off or sometime early next week, because I want us to go ahead and get our NBA Rookies of the Year, MVPs, all that kind of stuff. I want to get it on record. So we'll probably only have about maybe one more show before Christmas, probably before the end of 2020. Probably one more show, hopefully, and we'll have some fun. Maybe I'll try to bring Ben in because he's really knowledgeable at basketball, and I want to get his take on the fact that Jeff Goodman said the other day that without a healthy Kemba Walker, the Celtics are only the 6th best team in the East. I want to hear Ben's response to that. So hopefully we can get him on here. If you guys got any thoughts or comments, please let us know. And if not, we'll see you next time, guys.